Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. Oh, it's a bit muggy again today, feeling a little bit sticky and I'm still feeling flat as a pancake. My goodness, not an ounce of energy, and I nearly put off coming to the garden again today, but then suddenly I was thinking about my little pots of broad beans and sweet peas that are all out, and we didn't get that rain we were promised, so I thought if nothing else I need to get down here, oh excuse me, I need to get down here to water. This is quite late in the afternoon, crazy busy day today of doing shopping and dropping for people in my neighbourhood, doing shopping bits and a couple of prescription runs, that sort of thing. I'm really thirsty actually. It's because I'm sweating a lot. So yeah, and just as I got home after about the fourth or fifth one, I got a text to say could I do another prescription run, so I did. And it's great, you know, it's really great to be able to help out in that way, but it's taking up all my time. I think I'm going to have to try and ration it a bit to just maybe sort of 4 hours in the morning to make sure I can still do the garden. And yeah, it was odd. I think I know the reason, but I got back home, I thought I'd better have a bit of lunch before I come to the garden. I had my first real wobble during this time. Yeah, it was odd. I suddenly felt really, really teary. Don't get teary now. I think I'm just missing company. I just had that kind of really lonely moment because I sort of calculated this going back on my calendar. I've actually been isolating for 6 weeks now. I started right back at the beginning of March, just having that awareness of I need to stay away from this virus because I'm looking after my great aunt. And of course, at the beginning of March, I still was going down to her. And then obviously lockdown came, and then I was thinking, right, well, I need to stay healthy because if her carers go sick, I need to be able to step in. But yeah, it's been 6 weeks and I'm a really, really physical person, a really, you know, touchy person. And obviously I live at home on my own, so there's no one there. So, oh, it's silly, isn't it? But I really need a hug. I really, really need a hug. Oh, silly me. You know, I am talking to people. I've got lots of friends. I Skype with them or Zoom and all those different things that we do on social media. And that's great. You know, it's great having a chat. But it's not the same. I've got wet eyes now, silly woman. Hang on a sec. I don't want to put my fingers in there. Yeah, it's just not the same as sitting face to face, close with someone and actually being able to hug or, you know, just an arm around a shoulder or whatever it is. So, yeah, like I said, flat as a pancake, suddenly feeling a bit tearful and a bit wobbly about the whole situation. So I thought, you know what, go to the garden. At least get those few little bits and bobs done in the garden today. And the chances are I'll see someone here and have a bit of a chat. And I have. Gary's down, so we've had a good old moan together. Pair of us, like a couple, we're like Joan and Darby and Joan, whatever they are. So yeah, we've had a jolly good moan together. Just an update on the compost situation. So, oh, look at that big bug. Oh, it's a big shield bug making its way across my bed. Don't come to bed with me. Is it a shield bug? I think so. As long as it's not a cockroach. No, it's a shield bug. I'm just on a poop on my thing. Ooh. Anyway, sorry, totally distracted. Yes, the compost scenario. Sorry. You know, people have been suggesting various places I can buy. That's fab. A lot of those places, I don't have them local. And what seems to be happening is people are giving really long delivery dates, but also I've spent over £70 on compost already. I don't have another 70 quid to spend on compost from a second company. So that's why I've been in such a dilemma about it. A friend got in touch yesterday, I need to get back to her actually, to say that she might have a spare bag I can use. Fantastic. So hopefully I can follow that up and have at least a little bit to do some potting on in, you know what I mean. But yeah, tricky times. I think I was mentioning this a few videos back about, you know, it's times like this we need to just get a bit creative, just think outside of the box a bit, find ways around things, and I think with reference to that wobble, I still feel a little bit wobbly, to be honest. I think with reference to that, I think it's perfectly normal. I think that moment's going to happen to a lot of us at some point, and quite possibly at various points. And just, you know, allow that emotion, acknowledge that emotion, accept it for what it is, know that it's not going to last forever. You know, I'm pretty sure that in a couple of hours of being in the garden I won't be feeling quite so wobbly and low again by then. And likewise, tomorrow morning when I get up, I'll go on with doing stuff for my neighbours and feel all chipper again. Right. What am I doing here? What am I supposed to be doing? Ah, yes, broad beans. Should we go and plant some broad beans? Oh, goodness me. It feels really... Oh, hold on, let's get comfy. It feels really... Oh, I'm not comfy. It feels so peculiar to me to be planting broad beans as these little plug plants in their pots. It does make me wonder what I'll do this autumn. Never mind, I'll come to that when I come to it. So, the principle is the same though as with so many of the other beans I sow later on in the year. Coco de Pampol, climbing beans, what have you. I was mentioning this in the seedling video the other day, so this is particularly pertinent. I'm really not comfy at all. Pertinent particularly to those of you who are new to things this year. Remember I was mentioning about the little seed leaves and then all the true leaves. That looks a little bit small to be planting, but I can see the roots are there in the bottom, so I'm hoping it should be just about big enough to go in. Now what's this ground going to be like? Oh my goodness. Tough. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, despite being covered by the nets all winter, which just stopped the worst of the rain hammering this soil compact, it's still pretty compact. I didn't mulch it over the winter because I didn't have anything to mulch it with. So I think that's a note to self as well, is that maybe this autumn when I'm gathering leaves, clippings, whatever it is, try and get a few extra so I can mulch the broad bean bed once it's sown. Okay, so I've got my little hole ready. I've got my fingers either side of the plant, so I'm not touching the stem, not really touching the plant at all. Just got my fingers there so that when I turn it over, give it a tap, I'm catching it. And there you can see, oh, lovely roots. But not much rootage up the side, as you can see. It's starting to, the compost is falling apart a bit. It is a little bit small for transplanting, but let's get it in anyway. And then I'll show you a more developed one now as well. get it in, give it a bit of a firm. Once they're all in, oh, I'm really not comfy today. Once they're all in, I will give them a watering just to help settle them in. I'm just, maybe I need to get my fork out, goodness me. I'll just get this one more in to show you a slightly bigger, hopefully more established seedling, and then crack on my own. You don't need to see me hopping and popping. Okay, let's choose this one. So once again, yeah, see roots in the bottom there, fingers either side of the plant, squeeze the pot a bit, turn it over, give it a tap. Oh, beautiful. Again, still quite young. One of the reasons to get them in though, apart from just get this job done and out of the way, because I really need to be doing other things, not broad beans, is in these little pots, any moisture in those pots is going to evaporate much more quickly than the moisture that's in the soil. And if we have loads more really warm, dry days and I can't get here for whatever reason, and I just leave them in these pots, then there is a risk that I'll lose the lot. So, less yakking, more planting. Good job. There's no such thing as a quick job in my garden. Oh my goodness, this soil. I do add to it whenever I can, whatever organic matter I can lay my hands on. I pile it on, but it's just the nature of clay soil that it gets like this. Oh, it's always this time of year and I suddenly go, oh no, I've got to do all these beds. Oh, and it's like a slight sinking feeling every year. But you know what? Every year I get it done. This year it will be no different. The great thing though about clay soil, let's look on the bright side, let's be Pollyanna and find something to be glad about, is it's highly nutritious. So, once I can get plants in and they can get going, they seem to love it. It's just a lot of hard work to get there. If anyone new to my channel and who's wondering, thinking, why don't you go no dig? Curses. I cannot get the materials. Oh, excuse me, I'm sweaty. I can't get the materials to go no dig. It would cost me an absolute fortune to get enough compost for this garden to go no dig. Fortune. And the amount it would cost me would probably be more than my crops are worth. So, I just go the old-fashioned way. And like I said, I add as much organic matter as I can, whatever I can lay my hands on. Leaves, grass clippings, weeds. I compost all my weeds. I was able to fork that side over a bit, so this hole's not so bad, and that's in preparation for the peas in a minute. But I think before I do the peas, I'm going to want a jolly good sit down for a minute, because it is actually really quite humid, weirdly enough. Either that or I'm just being my usual sweaty self. Sweat's running off the end of my nose. Oh, how very, very unladylike. I don't care. Gertrude, get in. Good. Oh, thank goodness that's done. Oh, one more on the end. Hang on. These birds. Oh, I love it. Just getting a scratchy little bit of support ready for my peas. A load of my sticks died at the end of last year, so I don't have many. Pop these in, maybe use a bit of string as well, we'll see. Hey, Buzzy Bee. This quiet, I love it. Right, let's get some peas in the ground. When I sowed these peas back, we're at the beginning of February, so oopsie, 2 months ago, I did 5 per cell. It looks like I've got 2 in most of each of the cells. Is that mice again? I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm not going to separate and divide them up in any way. They're just going to go in little clumps into this horrid soil. Oh, they'll be fine once they get going. That's going to be the mantra of the week, isn't it? Of the month. They'll be fine once they get going. And 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So plant in between as well. Every now and again you can hear voices. It's rather lovely. There's some neighbours hanging out of their windows, chatting to each other from window to window. Folk just making the most of it. Doing their best. It's this really is grotty, lumpy ground. Love it. The bees are out. The broad beans that did make it through the winter got their little flowers on, and the bees have been busy all this last week or so, backwards and forwards, pollinate away. That's not what you're planting. Actually, if I do it that, then I can do a whole load in one go. I just can't get over it. I just can't get over this beautiful quiet. Oh, gorgeous. I don't know that I'm going to have space at the end of the row, but if I do, very last from that packet I was given that I didn't sow back in February. I'll stick him in on the end. You can see, I don't know if you can see in there. There's a little bit of red powder. It's chilly. If you remember when I sowed all of these in the cells, I tried to get them coated in chili, and then I also sprinkled chili powder on the top of the sowings. So where they haven't come up, I don't know whether that's just poor germination or whether the mice developed a penchant for spicy pea seeds. And popping them in almost bang on next to each other. They won't mind being close. Oh, sausage, mash and peas, yeah. Oh. I think that's what you have to do on a day when you're maybe not quite feeling it. If, like me today, you're having a bit of an emotional wobble, or you're physically tired, that sort of thing, is, as you're doing whatever the task is that you're doing, try to picture the end result. I mean, we have to be careful not to be disappointed if the end result doesn't happen, like with the broad beans. But yeah, I think picturing sausage, mash and peas today, oh yeah, that's helping. So I'll do the front of this bed as I did last year in front of the peas, the lentils. I'm going to do that again this year because, well, I got a harvest. I've still got a load to process. My bad. And I thought they were a really attractive plant to have in the garden anyway. Plus, they were great as a sort of ground cover mulch underneath the peas. Fab. So yeah, definitely doing them again. Oh, little stray, in you go. These are actually quite dry, so again, I'll give them a watering just to settle them in. But you can see where I hope you can see where I've forked the soil. There is moisture down there. Jolly well hope so. After November, December, January, February, 4 months of pretty non-stop rain. Oh gosh, I'm thinking now about all of you who had flooded gardens. I hope you're all sort of dry and back on your feet again now. I hope so. Okay, so for the ones that I'm going to sow, as opposed to the seedlings that I've planted, just cracking some boulders, a shallow little drill, trench, however you want to call it, about 5 centimetres deep. Let's just down there a little bit more, and then again, like I was saying with the planting, then they're quite close. Don't worry too much about the spacing. All I do, oh hello weedy, let's just trickle them into the bottom of that drill. Fab. Oh, and and the chili powder too, why not? There we go. And then scrape your soil back over and wait and hope. So much hope. Where's that label? Well, it says on it the 3rd of the 2nd, and it's actually the 7th of the 4th. Is it the 7th or the 8th? Lost track of time. Never mind, that'll do. It'll just do as a marker for now. Great, let's give those a washing in. And then I think it's time to find the next little job on the list. Or I might just sit here a while and watch the bees in the broad bean flowers. Oh, it does feel good to get something in at last. Bit of green here instead of those mesh nets all winter. I just want to show you, look, getting down onto the floor. Oh, hello bee. Aren't they beautiful? It's something I often mention is check out your vegetables, flowers. Often they're very simple but beautiful. You know, we spend a lot of our time waiting for, hoping for and looking for our vegetables, but don't miss out on this beauty first. Gorgeous. Oh, green again, green again. Happy, happy green again. Gosh, the afternoon is disappearing. I think undoubtedly because I think I'm purposely going slow today just to guard my energy a bit, but also just to make the most of this quiet. So a few of my broad beans didn't germinate, so I'm putting the compost in my little mini hugelkultur. And it just reminded me to mention about the tool. Oh, should I do the dance of the 7 veils? It seems to have worked. Well, put it this way. Let's get that weed out. I don't want to add the weed. None of these... Okay, so some of them didn't germinate. But where they haven't germinated, there aren't any holes there. Like, it was so obvious in the bed where there were holes where the mice had gone in and nicked nicked my beautiful seeds. So, yes, I would say that if you ever get offered some tool or you have access to some, grab it. Pop your seeds in their pots, in their trays, wrap the whole thing up in tool, and hopefully no naughty mice activity. Now the other thing I want to do, you see it in my lap? Oh, I'm going to get soaked, I've just watered them. My sweet peas, some for the shed and some for the hugel culture. I'm going to do that later when you guys aren't around, because I've got to get the obelisk out. I've got some weeding to do in the communal path. And I just don't want to hurry anything today. Anyway, what I am going to do, I'm going to do this today before I plant them, as in, I'm not going to plant them today, if you see what I mean. And that is, if I can untangle it, for each little plant, I'm just going to nip out the growing tip. The idea with doing that is it encourages side shoots, and the more side shoots you've got, the bushier the plant is, the more side shoots, the more flower bearing stems you can develop. So the reason I'm doing that today but not planting them is doing that, I am giving them a little bit of a shock. So I think the idea of, if I was nipping out and planting them up today, I think that's just too many shocks in one day. Poor little lambs. So yes, I shall nip, dead quick job. Some of these I could have done with doing probably a month ago. It's like everything in the garden, isn't it? There's going to come a point this season when I stop saying, I should have done that a month ago. But look, it just shows, doesn't it? You know me. Those of you who've been watching me long enough, you know that I'm a total neat freak, organised nerd, etc, etc. But life happens, and you know, best laid plans change because, you know, a family member needs you, or you know, your work situation changes, whatever it is. So yes, have a plan, try and be organised, but don't overly worry if you think, oh, this is 2 weeks late, that's 3 weeks late. You know, generally speaking, there's quite a bit of flexibility in the garden, so don't stress. Do I look stressed? I definitely don't look stressed today, do I? Oh, I'm so glad I came. Look, I'm going to wrap up now because there are other bits and bobs to do. This has been long enough. But what I've wanted to do today with the video is I just share this sense of quiet. It's not silent, not by any means, but there's quiet. You know, there's dogs barking, there's kids playing, there's two chaps over there hanging out of their windows talking to each other. It's quiet, but there's life in it, and it's beautiful, and we should celebrate it. It's marvellous. So I hope you've got a sense of that from today's video. What's next? Oh yeah, potato trenches. That's not going to be a slow, chilled video. That's going to be a lot of me huffing and a puffing. Until then, please look after yourselves, look after each other. Embrace these beautiful sounds of life that are popping up all around us. Embrace it, fill yourself up with it. Bye for now.